Harper and welcome to Lincoln Psychology News. Our main headline today is an ongoing murder trial in Italy. Let's go live to our correspondent Faye, who is outside the court in Italy.
Hello, this is Faye Rao reporting live from Italy. Today Albertini was tried for murder of her sister and the attempted murder of her parents. The sentence was reduced from 30 years to 20 years, 3 of which will be spent in a mental institution. This was decided as a result of a combination of psychiatric analysis, structural brain imaging, memory tests and genetic testing. We'll now go back live to Heather in the studio, who is joined by 2 experts in the field.
Thank you, Faye. I'm now joined by Bianca and Shannon from the University of Oxford, who have done extensive research into the cause of criminal behaviour, which will help us to understand the case a bit better. Could you please tell us what possibly led to Albertini to murder her sister and attempted murder of her parents?
From what I understand, she has been through many genetic and psychiatric tests, including MRI scans, which has shown that Albertini has abnormalities in her anterior cingulate cortex and amygdala. Studies have found a link between these abnormalities and reduced inhibition and aggression. These are thought to be caused by damage or overactivity.
But is there any evidence supporting that?
This evidence can be supported by a study by Rain, which found that as well as differences in the prefrontal cortex, criminals often have an overactive amygdala. Rain also found that people with a damaged or destroyed amygdala do not feel any thrill or nervousness when they make others suffer. This lack of emotion could contribute to a lack of moral concepts allowing criminal behaviour.
Although I'm not disputing that it's possible for genetics to have an influencing factor, I do feel criminality is mainly circumstantial. Vulcan found that criminal behaviour can be caused by crime-rich neighbourhoods and weakened social institutions, where it's normal in certain societies, such as lower class and underprivileged, to commit crimes such as petty thefts, which often lead to further crimes.
So what you're saying, Bianca, is that Albertini's behaviour is caused by her upbringing, whereas you're saying, Shannon, that her behaviour is caused by genetics and brain faults. Have either of you got any more evidence to support this conclusion and just to help the general public understand the issues a bit better?
I would say that it is definitely nothing to do with her upbringing. We have more than enough evidence to suggest that Albertini's actions were beyond her control.
But what evidence has not been really displayed in the media?
In the past, many of the links between genetics and criminal behaviour have been researched through the use of twin studies. For example, Christiansen in 1977 found that from 3,586 pairs of twins, if a monozygotic twin, meaning a twin who is identical, therefore showing exactly the same genes, is a criminal, a staggering 52% of the time the other twin is also a criminal. Whereas in twins that are non-identical, dizygotic twins, this rate was only 22%. This implies a strong relationship between the genetic makeup of an individual and their subsequent criminality.
While that study does state there is a strong relationship between criminality and genetics, you cannot simply ignore the environment surrounding Albertini in her past. Farrington suggests that criminality of the parents and other members in the family, poverty, impulsiveness, poor child rearing and poor school performance are main contributing environmental factors, some of which were apparent in Albertini's childhood.
You could then argue that everyone who has these issues within their childhood can become capable of murder, and this clearly can't be true, and there is not enough evidence to support this fear.
To Faye, who's outside the court in Italy, who's interviewing a member of the public on her opinion of what's happening in...
I'm joined by Jess, a member of the public. You've seen the case in the media. Do you have any opinions on what the case is?
I think everyone's got quite a few opinions on the case. Obviously, we've all seen it all over the media, and it's quite a big thing because there's not been many cases like this as far as we're aware. On behalf of probably the rest of the public, I think we're all quite undecided on whether it was upbringing or genetics, because obviously from what we've just watched live as well, there's been a bit of a debate on what caused her to commit this crime.
Do you have an opinion either way, whether it was upbringing or whether it's to do with her genetics?
I think I'd go more for genetics because obviously with the upbringing, we've seen reports that have said that she was, had a normal upbringing. She wasn't abused or bullied, or, she went to a nice school and lived in a nice area. Whereas the genetics lady seemed to have quite a lot of evidence to support faulty cognition from the amygdala and their MA, OA, low activity version of it. Whereas the upbringing lady didn't really have too much that was relevant to Albertini as such.
So do you not think that the media presented both sides of the argument equally?
Not particularly, no. I think it was much more based on genetics because that's probably what they want us to believe. I think it was quite interesting when they said about the like quite a lot of normal functioning good members of society have the same faulty cognition but don't act on it, so they weren't really sure what drives someone to kill.
Thank you for speaking with us today.
This is clearly a very controversial and sensitive topic, particularly considering the public nature of these events and the high level of public opinion which has been sparked, and despite evidence to support the relationship between abnormalities in certain areas of the brain and criminality, it's received much criticism. Although there has been other reports on Albertini's case which say her tests have also revealed low activity of the MAOA gene or hormone, what relation does this have to the display of criminal behaviour?
The public aren't actually aware of the extent of evidence supporting these theories. The MAOA gene may be better known to many people as the warrior gene. It is an enzyme located on the X chromosome. One of its key roles is to regulate neurotransmitters, such as serotonin and dopamine. Variations in the MAOA gene transcription, such as this low-activity version, have a strong impact on the efficiency of the enzyme and thus on the regulation of serotonin and dopamine.
So what does this mean in terms of Albertini's crime? How is it linked, and how does the MAOA?
These neurotransmitters are potent regulators of cognitive and behavioural functions. Anything, including MAOA, altering or enhancing the serotonergic or dopaminergic systems has a great impact on the central nervous system and specifically on cognitive, behavioural and emotional regulation. Through its influence on the serotonergic system, it increases the vulnerability of the individual to antisocial traits or risk factors for antisocial behaviour, namely those of low self-control or impulsivity and negative emotionality, which unfortunately Albertini will have experienced.
So obviously a lot of controversy is seen particularly in today's media following the trial, focusing on the fact that this MAOA gene is found in many convicted criminals. It is also found in perfectly functional members of society. This leads to the question whether simply possessing the gene is enough to drive a person to kill. Surely it's possible for both genetic and environmental influences to contribute towards Albertini's crime. Back to Faye, who can answer this question for us with new evidence that has come to light. Thank you, Bianca and Shannon, for joining us today.
Beaver's study can be used to describe that genetics and upbringing can both equally play a part in causing criminal behaviour. He stated that a child would inherit some aggressive genes of their aggressive parents, but equally the violent environment will allow criminal behaviour to develop. This is supported by Congress et al. Study that stated that aggressive parents tend to have aggressive and violent children. This is due to the parents' aggression towards their children, and the parents are more withdrawn. This concludes that the rearing environment is an extension of a child's genetic makeup. Therefore, it is correct to say that the research into this field is inconclusive, and it is possible that many factors can lead to an individual developing into a criminal. At this point, it is impossible to say that criminality is only caused by one factor.